Oh, look at that ball. Alright, today we're going to talk about one of the dumbest things in the Naruto fandom. And you know what? It's not just in Naruto, it's in lots of animes, it's in lots of series. We got to talk about it. It's very frustrating for me. It's called power scaling. Alright? Now, everybody on the internet who likes Naruto talks about this constantly. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I find it really dumb. Okay, what is power scaling? Power scaling is when you try to figure out how strong a character is compared to other characters. So, how do people do this? Well, sometimes in the series of Naruto, characters don't necessarily always fight each other. Like, I don't know, if you want to figure out if Orochimaru could fight against Killer Bee or something, you know, those characters never fight. So you're like, okay, well, how do we figure it out? And what people do is they're like, okay, well, Killer Bee fights against Sasuke, and he beats Sasuke, and he also fights against Sasuke's team, Suigetsu and Karen and Jugo. So because he pretty much beats them until Sasuke uses Amaterasu, that means he could beat Orochimaru because Sasuke beat Orochimaru because he absorbed him into his body. And you make logical jumps that quickly spiral out of control until they become a complete fallacy. The most hilarious example of this is the character Suigetsu. Okay, he's on Sasuke's team. You know him, you love him. He's a goofy guy. The power scaling argument that breaks the whole debate for me is when people talk about Suigetsu having a sweat drop. Okay? This is a real thing that people in this fandom talk about. They power scale based on how much Suigetsu sweats when he sees somebody. Okay? So for instance, Suigetsu fights Killer Bee, and Suigetsu he has a feat. This is called a feat when a character like does something of note in the series. And feats are usually used to power scale as well. So, for instance, Killer Bee does a Tailed Beast Bomb, one of the biggest, most destructive moves in the entire series. And he shoots it at Suigetsu. And Suigetsu is a huge water man. He is transformed into a huge water man. And Suigetsu tanks the bomb. He takes the hit, and he doesn't die. That's pretty impressive, right? Because the Tailed Beast Bomb is a really big thing. That's a huge attack. That's one of the top tier attacks. So Suigetsu doesn't die. But when Suigetsu sees Orochimaru come back to life in the war arc, he gets a sweat drop. Now, you might argue that because Suigetsu gets a sweat drop from Orochimaru, that means Orochimaru is much stronger than Suigetsu. And since Suigetsu can tank a Tailed Beast Bomb, that must mean that Orochimaru he has greater endurance. He can tank more than one Tailed Beast Bomb, which means Orochimaru is stronger than Killer Bee. And it is completely ridiculous. And I mean, one of the big reasons for this is that that's stupid and it makes no sense. Whether someone has an emotional reaction to a different character in the series, it doesn't mean they're stronger or weaker. It just means they have emotions or feelings, and maybe Suigetsu is scared of Orochimaru or whatever. The other thing is ninjas have specialties, right? Some ninja are good against certain other ones, while they're bad against other types. Long-range fighters and short-range fighters, for instance. The elements all have a wheel, right? There's a rock, paper, scissors of elements, where certain elements are better against other elements. You know, Naruto does a lot of shadow clones and a lot of Rasengans, but, you know, if you caught him in a genjutsu, maybe you would totally, before he becomes a perfect Jinchuriki, which can break out of genjutsu, I guess, you could crush him, right? It's just like, characters have different specialties. Power scaling them makes no sense, and the arguments are absolutely absurd, and they are fallacies, and it makes me mad. And that's why today we are going to power scale all of these characters. So, using what I know of Naruto, I'm going to try to make the most ridiculous power scaling argument for each of these characters and try to scale them to, I don't know, someone or something. Okay? So that's what we're going to be trying to do today. And oh boy, I hope I can give you lots of good arguments for these characters. Okay, Kid Kakashi. What have we seen from Kid Kakashi? Whoops. I know this, I mean, this is when he's in the academy and we don't really see anything from him then. I'll just talk about him when he's a Jonin, because he's still kind of a kid. He's a Jonin at age 10 or something ridiculous like that. He's like a 9-year-old Jonin. So what do we see him do? He fights against Minato in training, 4th Hokage, and he's going one-on-one with Minato, while Obito and Rin are like unable to. I think this is like a, I don't know if it's the bell test that Minato's doing with them, but he's doing some kind of training exercise with them. And we see that Minato's fighting Kakashi one-on-one, because Kakashi is not teaming up with Rin and Obito because they suck as children, and he's much better. He's a Jonin. So he's going up against Minato one-on-one, and he is doing like multi-layered strategies. You know, in this series when like, I don't know, a character's like, oh, they put a bomb right in front of me, and then they jump somewhere else, and then like behind them there's like a different bomb, and they're like, oh, they knew I would jump back here. That's why they placed the second bomb. The first one was just a distraction. Now I'm really in trouble. That's like a multi-layered strategy. So we see Kakashi use a bunch of those on Minato, and although he doesn't defeat Minato, because Minato teleports out of harm's way, right? Because he is a teleport man. He's the fastest man. We see that like he does Kakashi's strategy of which I think is just like appearing behind him or something like that, does like catch Minato off guard. So, and he obviously can teleport out of that, but he didn't like see the strategy coming, is what I'm saying. So we can say that Kid Kakashi scales to Minato's level of battle strategy, because he managed to implement a strategy that Minato had to teleport to get out of, which if he didn't have teleportation, you know, perhaps that would have worked. Would it have worked? I don't know, but we're power scaling, so it doesn't matter. Okay, here's adult Kakashi. Great. So let's power scale to a thing that happened off screen, both in the comic and in the anime. In the war arc, Kakashi says that he beats Zabuza as a zombie, and he beats Haku as a zombie, and he says, I'm fed up. I was very emotionally moved by how Zabuza and Haku died, says Kakashi. And because that has been defiled by this Edo Tensei, I'm going to go on a rampage and just kill all the bad guys. And all the other swordsmen, oh, this is going to be a good power scale. All the other swordsmen of the mist are there, right? And then when we check back with Kakashi, they're all gone. So I think we are led to believe that Kakashi single-handedly defeats all the 7 swordsmen of the mist. One of them doesn't have Kisame's sword. And there's another sword that's missing, right? I think Suigetsu's brother doesn't have a sword or something, but the rest of them all have their swords, and they're all zombies, and they're Edo Tensei, which means they can't be killed, they regenerate, and Kakashi beats all of them. So that means Kakashi is stronger than all of those swordsmen of the mist, put together, basically. And then, oh, what the fuck, isn't there something with the second Hokage? Does the second Hokage get killed by Mist Ninja? Oh no, maybe he gets killed by Cloud Ninja. Okay. Well, the second Hokage gets killed maybe by the Gold and Silver brothers, by King Kaku and the other one, fucking also named King Kaku. Okay, maybe that's not as good of a scale as I was thinking. What do the 7 swordsmen of the mist do that's notable? I guess nothing, because they don't exist in the show until they come back as zombies. But hey, that's a pretty good feat. He beats a bunch of swordsman ninja. Having trouble making it more ridiculous than that actually is like a pretty legitimate, I guess, power scale. Like, he just seems stronger than them because he beat them all, allegedly, off screen. One funny thing that happens with Kakashi really early in the series is that when Sasuke meets Gaara for the first time, he says that I think Gaara's stealth rivals Kakashi. And, like, you know, on the one hand, you could be like, well, Sasuke's just a kid and he doesn't know shit. But on the other hand, you could be like, well, they did write it in this comic, so, I mean, we could just take it as literally true and scale that Gaara has as much stealth as Kakashi, one of the most famous Jonin in the Leaf. So maybe Gaara's just very sneaky. Maybe he doesn't move very much. So we ended up power scaling Gaara to Kakashi's stealth. But that's fine. That's still a pretty silly thing. And, like, it seems like those early days comments kind of get retconned. They don't really seem to make sense in the grand scheme of things. A lot of things from the early series just don't really seem to stick around. Kakashi can open one of the gates, I think. I think he opens a gate when he's climbing up a mountain. Why can't he open more gates? I don't know. Lee can open more gates than him, and he's a little child. Can Kakashi open more gates? We don't fucking know. All right, let's move on. Geez, we're really in the Kakashi and Guy show here. I don't think I have this card. SR Guy, sweet. Okay, well, I mean, Guy ends up just scaling to, like, the strongest character in the show, Madara, because he can open the 8th gate. He can go up against Ten Tails Jinchuriki Madara and not die from fighting. And almost kill Madara, but through his own omission, his own admission. Madara says, "You almost killed me, you bastard. You're the best taijutsu fighter I've ever seen in my life. I'll give you the honor of killing you." So you know, pretty much we have to take from this that Guy is the strongest character in the show, basically. Excepting, I guess, well, Naruto and Sasuke don't actually kill Madara, do they? Madara gets back attacked by Black Zetsu, and I mean, many people hate that moment, and I'm sure we'll have to talk about Kaguya at some point. Madara doesn't actually lose, I guess. Technically, he doesn't lose. So I guess that makes Guy the strongest good guy, because he came the closest to killing Madara. I mean, that's pretty legit, again. I'm trying to think of other, like, funny scales that are just ridiculous things. I mean, he fights Kisame, and that goes pretty well for him. So I guess we're doing a reverse situation again. This is more interesting if we scale... I call him Kisame. I know that's wrong. If we scale Kisame to Guy, that means that Kisame, who survives fighting against Guy and fights very well and is also fighting other Leaf Jonin, Special Jonin, I think, as well as Killer Bee for a while, that means Kisame is, like, the strongest Akatsuki, like, by a mile. Well, there we go. That's a funny scale. Because Kisame can, like, fight against Guy in his, like, seven gates version, who, again, Guy with one more gate just, like, scales to Madara. So that means Kisame is, like, the one of the strongest people alive. To be able to tank hits from Guy with the 7th gate opened. And shrug it off like it's nothing, right? He gets attacked by Guy with all sorts of crazy animal combinations. Those big, huge elephants just getting kicked out. How does Guy kick elephants out of his fists and peacocks and stuff? I don't know. Maybe it's visual metaphor. I'm not sure. Anyway, Kisame takes that beating like a champ. It hardly slows him down. So I think we must infer that Kisame's endurance is higher than everybody else if we do that power scale correctly. So there you go. I mean, Pain, no way. Kisame is stronger than Pain. Kisame is stronger than Itachi. Just in terms of endurance, what he can take as an attack, if we scale to Guy's attack being, you know, relative to Madara in his 10-tailed form, even if he's not opening the 8th gate, that means everyone else would die before Kisame in terms of taking attacks. Sure, that's a funny scale that makes no sense, so we'll go with that. Sasuke is the most frustrating character to power scale to, because his feats are insane and make no sense. You know, he went up even the first time we see him in Shippuden, he does go up against just like crazy, insane opponents. Like the first time we see him, he fights Yamato and Sai and Sakura, who obviously isn't doing that much, and Naruto, that's a pretty big deal. I mean, this is why Daigo Knight fucking loves Sasuke so much, because his feats are just crazy. Like when we first see him, he hasn't absorbed Orochimaru. He doesn't have Mangekyo Sharingan. He hasn't fought Itachi. He doesn't have Amaterasu. And he's still fighting off a Jonin and a full Team 7, as well as a Jonin. That's pretty extreme for your first appearance. That really sets Sasuke up to be crazy. And he has all sorts of other insane feats. He fights the 5 Kages, I guess not all at the same time. He is doing maneuvers that are sort of relative in speed and reacting to the 4th Raikage, who's supposed to be one of the fastest guys ever. He's fighting against Gaara and Darui, and he puts C in a Genjutsu, I think. And he's constantly surviving being attacked by Mei, the Mizukage. So basically, until the funny thing is, the buck stops with the Earth Kage, this Tsuchi Kage. Once he runs into that old man, what's his name? Anuki? I think it's Anuki. Anuki just immediately would have killed Sasuke, which is really funny. I guess Anuki's atomization skill, his particle style, is just so fast and so strong that no matter what you've got, Susanoo, whatever, if Obito hadn't yanked Sasuke out of the way, it would have just killed him. Which is funny. That makes Anuki probably one of the strongest characters in the show. Because Sasuke is relative to all the Kage, and he survives everything until he gets almost killed with particle style, which is hilarious. Yeah, I mean, geez. He is too strong. He's too strong in the series, I guess. His feats kind of make him too strong. His feats, even before he gets Eternal Mangekyo Eyes or whatever, his feats basically mean, if we power scale this way, Sasuke's the strongest person in the world. Like, there's no one who even comes close to him. He can fight multiple Kage, which is something that Madara does. He is as fast as some of the fastest people in the world, like the Raikage. He is able to sort of like adapt to Danzo's broken strategy of infinitely changing the present. With power scaling, it's Sasuke or bust. He's the top ninja. He's the strongest one, which I don't really like. I've never really liked that sort of judging by his feats like that, power scaling this way, that he's basically unstoppable. It doesn't even really make sense that Naruto would be able to fight Sasuke if we follow the rules of power scaling, I guess, because his feats are like much greater than Naruto's. Like, Naruto does beat a lot of Akatsuki, but like Sasuke fights all the Kage, sometimes at the same time, plus all their bodyguards, which is just insane. This is a nice AR, by the way. We don't have this AR. So there he is himself, the Sauce Boy, with the moon behind him. Very nice. And finally, Hinata. Well, Hinata, as an adult, runs at pain, and she gets shut down pretty quickly. What else does she do? She sees things with her eyes. Does she fight anybody ever besides before Shippuden? I don't think she does. She fights Neji and loses. I guess if we were to follow the wacky rules of power scaling, then like Hinata losing to Neji, and Neji, yes, here we go. Neji dying to a stick means that Hinata is less powerful than a stick. There we go. That's the perfect power scaling. Because the stick can kill an adult Neji, and Hinata can't even beat a young Neji. So therefore, Hinata is weaker than a stick. And Neji is weaker than a stick because he dies to sticks. And that's that's all we have to say about Hinata. She's correctly scaled to be, to do less damage than a stick. 29,000 damage? I don't think so. Is that the damage one? I don't remember. 32,000 damage? I don't think so. A stick card? Can we get a stick card, please? Is there SSR stick that kills Neji in this card collecting series? Can we get AR, the stick that kills Neji? Can we get an MR, Mr. Stick? Mr. Stick that kills the only person in the war arc. Okay, I hope that was enjoyable. I hope that gave you a little taste of why power scaling is dumb and why it is stupid and doesn't make sense. Never talk about Suigetsu Sweat Drop. Whenever you're having a conversation about Naruto, don't ever mention Suigetsu sweating. It's not relevant. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean he's stronger or weaker than anybody else. Ninjas have specialties. Suigetsu can turn into water when he gets hit. It doesn't mean he's stronger than Killer Bee or that he can tank a beast bomb and that's better than other characters. That's just his specialty. He turns into water. That's a thing he can do. It doesn't mean other characters they have more or less endurance. All right, bye.